Mic check, mic check. Mic check. How's that sound? Mic check. How's that sound? Okay, it's good on my end.
Sometimes dream. I think it's happening. Stream. You know they say time will take a hold of you. You kill the voice or it kills you. Oh no, you shouldn't really speak about it. Oh no,
It was a graphics driver issue.
you shouldn't really speak.
Graphics driver.
You look thin, all the drugs make you thinner still. The sort of thing you never see. Look up, and up, and up, and up above, and up above now. Count your lucky stars. Oh no, you shouldn't really speak about it. Oh no, you shouldn't really speak
Okay, I think we're good.
about
That's enough, Nickel Sty. All right, thanks guys for being patient, and thank you for letting me know that the audio was out of sync. Thank you guys. All right, yeah, so we were talking about Chapo, talking about Sam Cedar, talking about Biden and Trump. So at least these podcasters, at least they'll be funny again if Trump gets elected. Oh, and just streaming sucks, guys. Don't ever get involved in it. Don't ever do it. Streaming is really fucking annoying. If our elected officials refuse to address this concentration of money and power, the consequences will be dire. Right, so rich people are basically begging to be taxed more. Millionaire heiress Abigail Disney ominously observed, throughout history, pitchforks were the inevitable consequence of extreme discontent. The discontent is truly extreme, and the institutions of bourgeois democracy are indeed under threat, with Trump acting as an accelerant. But the existential threat to bourgeois society comes from the tens of millions who refuse to accept that a handful of parasites are destined to rule over us forever. If Trump marches triumphantly back into Washington, we would be confronted not with the specter of fascism, but with a mass movement that would quickly surpass the breadth and depth of the summer of 2020. The power of the working class, the only force that can bury the system of misery, death, and humiliation, would be unleashed. And if the Democrats somehow win a reprieve, it will only delay the system's day of reckoning. The future is one of mass struggle and preparing for revolution, not electioneering and horse trading for piddling reforms. Colossal street mobilizations, earth-shattering general strikes, and the rise of a mass communist party are on the agenda. So too are unhinged attacks on communism, foreshadowed by the vitriolic attempts to paint Lenin as a tyrant on the centenary of his passing. Accelerate? What? We welcome these attacks as a badge of honor. They are a sign of our enemy's weakness, not our strength. Not their strength. All revolutionary class fighters should unite. Oh yeah, whatever. No free advertising, INT. Do your own dirty work. Anyway, if Trump gets reelected, Trump gonna lead to revolution sounds a lot like... No, an accelerationist position would be like we should vote for Trump because it's going to make everything worse. And that's going to push people towards revolution. These guys are just pointing out the obvious that, like, if Trump gets elected, we're going to see a lot more class struggle in the streets. Actually, this is a pretty great slogan. Worldwide intifada until victory. I like that slogan a lot. Anyway, let's check in on our boy. Let's see how he's doing.
Hey everyone, it's Joey Shantz. Some of you guys might know me as the Yankee Tanky. Let's be clear, that was a character.
Sure.
But I can definitely say the Yankee Tanky is dead because I'm not really a tanky anymore. I'll just be blunt and honest with you guys. I'm no longer consider myself a communist or a Marxist-Leninist or anything like that. I've been thinking about this for a while. Look, being a communist is not a popular position in the United States.
Well, what the hell it's not.
It's completely impractical. I still want good things for the working people of the United States. I still want us to fight against, endless war. I support a lot of the actions that we see in the regards of the multipolar world, but there's no point in calling myself a communist. It doesn't matter if Marxist-Leninism would be correct in any capacity, dialectical materialism or any of those things. It's just not useful. I want to actually be a normal person, not shunned by society. I'm never going to be able to do that as a communist.
Sure you can. What are you talking about?
On one hand, communists that people think of are a bunch of blue-haired freak shows, right? And then the other communists that have pretty good political ideology,
like Caleb Maupin,
within the circles of the infrared community, and
God,
within the circles watching The Dive with Jackson Hinkle and others.
Oh my God!
I hate to say it, but you guys are failures. I'm disappointed that you guys are failures.
Takes one to know one, I guess.
I've already been thinking about this for a while. I guess about for the last 6 months or so. Maybe it just finally came to head within the last 24 hours that, what am I doing? What am I actually doing calling myself a communist? When your only two options are
they're the vanguard.
Either communists with terrible politics or freaks, or communists that have good politics but are cowards. They're losers. They're incapable of actually achieving anything. This isn't to say anything about Haas or Jackson in particular. I do disagree with a lot of the decisions Haas in particular has made.
Like what? Spill.
I still hope
spill that tea,
maybe
girl.
One day he'll be successful. Maybe he'll finish his book. Maybe he'll launch the Shadow Party. Maybe he will actually get the ball rolling. But it just seems like a bunch of smoke. So much smoke coming off my cigarette right now.
Yeah, because they're morons.
That's just the truth, dude. I'm sorry. But I see no reason to support failures. I see no reason to support,
he's saying, yeah, they have the right ideas, but they're failures. And he's talking about Haas and Jackson Hinkle, who are not turning the tide because they're not fucking doing anything, because they're not workers, right? They're not participating in the mass struggle, right? Is Haas out on the streets holding a Palestinian flag? I seriously, and talking to people, I seriously doubt it. There were times where I didn't stream because I'm out, defending trans people against the far right, or I'm actually I participated in multiple Palestinian protests. Like, I don't see these guys engaging in any of this actual class struggle, right? Where does he work? Like, why isn't he unionizing his workplace? That's how you raise the consciousness of the workers, is by fighting for workers' power. Haas is out on the street in a woman's jacket talking to MAGA people about communism. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, immediately starts talking about the globalists and George Soros and what do you think of this idea of MAGA communism? Oh my god. These people don't know what you're talking about. How's an angle or fake communist trying to appeal to 4chan types? Yeah, exactly. At least he's not got blue hair. Yeah, that's a stereotype. That's also like, it talks a lot about the blue hair is such a common thing. You're supposed to look like this perfect Aryan physical specimen, right? That's like, you know, you have to look like you're coming off of a fucking. That's why they push fitness so much, is because they're tired of like being surrounded by like fat, disgusting people with blue hair. Blue-haired baristas aren't working class. Exactly. Like, that's what they're talking about, right? That's their ideal. And so basically they really are like white nationalists in a different sense. I would not be surprised if they also fetishize like having like an Asian wife, you know? I don't want to put words in their mouth. I just wouldn't be surprised. That's all I'm saying. Also, this is not me adding a filter onto this video. His camera phone is this shitty. Camera phone from like 2003 that he's filming himself on. But the blue hair also tends to, it has a very like anti-trans vibe to it as well. And I'm not saying specifically they've said anything about, I mean, this guy certainly fucking has. This guy's transphobic as fuck, and I'm probably Haas. I think Jackson Hinkle knows enough not to say anything about it in public. But yeah, the picturing people in blue hair is often like a dig at trans people as well. And yeah, and their hatred of Starbucks baristas who are doing way more fucking class struggle than these clowns. And that's what they are. They're clowns. I have nothing good to say about these fucking morons. They're all against trans people, and the blue hair thing is not so subtle dog whistle. Yeah, that's the word I was fishing for. Fuck, I'm tired. I had a nap just before I came on stream, and my brain's still not all there.
People unwilling to take the actions necessary. I mean, like
at least he was willing to hit the street with a megaphone, right? Remember?
Let's assume, you need an organization to actually go down to the border in Texas right now. To actually reach the masses that are down there.
What? What masses?
Well, you don't have an organization.
It's two government entities, the Border Patrol versus the National Guard.
There is no infrared organization. You haven't launched a party. You talked about launching a party for over a year. Or shadow party, whatever. It just always seems like nothing ever happens.
He wants people to help shoot migrants. Yeah, exactly. I had a guy come in. It was either this stream or it was Kyle Communist stream, who was like, why isn't the left talking about defending the border against migrants? It's like, why aren't we deporting people as the left? What the fuck are you talking about, you crazy person? Yeah, so like he wants people to help shoot migrants. Like that's like a lot of what they want. And they know they're not allowed to say it out loud, right? And they're like, yeah, it's a free country. I should be allowed to like whip fucking migrants at the border like on horseback. This rabid obsession with baristas is kind of funny to me. Some coffee houses used to be places for radical revolutionary thought in the 18th century, right? Like, where are you going to go for reading group? Although I will say, we did have some fun. They went out of business, if you can believe it. The Anarchist Cafe in Toronto. I know I've covered them a little bit. But they went out of business. Maupin has this line where he's like, I just want the USA to stop destroying the migrant countries so they won't come here. Yeah. Anarchists are bad at business. Who would have guessed? It was literally one guy. He didn't have any employees and no one came in, and they sold all sorts of like bags and books. You could buy a tote bag that's like, buy a tote bag that says stuff like, you know, no justice on stolen land, or you know, bullshit like that, right? And I'm sure the tote bag was like $20. It was probably handmade. No gods, no masters, no bedtimes. Apparently the abolished time. Oh god, you just reminded me of the most annoying, how much time I wasted a couple like not last week but the week before. How much time I wasted talking to this anarcho-nihilist in chat. I don't know if you guys remember that. I was joking about like, oh, anarchists want to abolish time because every clock is a cop. And it's not the first time I've heard that, where it's like, you know, asking someone to be on time is a colonial mindset. And I'm like, I can't fucking deal with this shit anymore. Like, a lot of the stuff is genuinely annoying. And, you know, decolonial conversations that don't involve class or like a class analysis, in my opinion, is a waste of time. It does not involve class struggle or you know, I'm perfectly in favor of restorative justice, but like, you cannot decolonize your bookshelf. You know what I mean? It's a fantasy sold by you know, liberals of color to sell more books. French Revolution tried getting rid of clocks, at least in the traditional sense, until they realized it was a horrible fucking idea. Like, you need to synchronize your factory work. Global South people don't want to be on time. I'm also not racist. I wonder if some of that comes from hanging out with and I know they're joking because I work with a lot of indigenous folks, and a lot of the time these guys don't show up on time, and I'm like, what's with that? And one of them says to me like, oh yeah, no, they're on native time. It means I'll get there when I fucking get there. And so I wonder if a lot of anarchist circles picked up on this and actually added that to their theory. What if we didn't have time? What if we just let people show up to work whenever they wanted? It's like, no, I need you to show up on time.
Happens. We talk about you making fun of the people that say, well, nothing ever happens. My dude, you're the perfect example of a dude that doesn't do anything.
So he's pissed that Infrared and all these guys have not actually launched a party, and they're not actually doing anything to put their ideals forward. Which, yeah, he's not wrong. But if your community is purely based online and not in the real world, talking to real working class people, you're not going to get off the ground, and you're just going to completely spin your wheels.
And therefore nothing happens. I hope I'm wrong, but at the end of the day, whether I'm right or wrong, I just don't see a point of trying to be a communist anymore. I'm not going to go out like Keaton Mansfield and start calling myself a Catholic nationalist.
He's not gonna fucking Bud Dwyer himself.
No, that's stupid. It's not what I believe in. I'm not even a Christian. Most people know that about me.
What?
I'm not gonna start lying about who I am. But that's exactly why I have to stop calling myself a communist or a Marxist-Leninist. I'm just an American. I'm an American who is sick and tired of this bullshit system. I'm an American that's gonna stand up for other Americans down on the border. They're fighting to protect this country. And I'm not gonna, cower it out and be like, I'm just not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna keep doing the same old game. No, I'm gonna support the people that are actually winning, the ones that are actually fighting. And it's gonna get me a lot of hate putting this video out. I know that. But I'm tired of being on the side of losers. I want winners.
Some self-awareness here.
I want to fucking win. Because that's what Americans are supposed to do.
What's he gonna do down the border? He thinks that the masses should congregate at the border and like shoot migrants.
We fought in 1776 for a fucking reason. And I want 1770.
Yeah, for slavery and fucking petty bourgeois primitive accumulation. What does he think 1776 was fought over?
76 to commence again. And that's not going to happen with cowards who refuse to reach the masses. And that's just the damn truth. Sorry. Best of luck.
Because the message does not resonate with the masses. Powerful stuff. I just gotta read some of the comments here. I consider myself infrared. I respect different pragmatic approach. You're materially and ideologically the same despite the words you use. You're an important part of the United Front. Oh, now they're all in favor of the United Front. Really interesting. Along with infrared, the dive, MWM. Oh, Midwestern Marx. Revolutionary Blackout Network, LaRouche, etc. Yeah, I ditched communism as a label long ago, even though I agree with helping ordinary people. No, that does not make you a communist. I now think communism is not the way to do it in America. I think Americans would be far likely to support distributism than communism. Good. You're gonna have to make the choice between standing alone in the truth or living the comforting lie of what the majority believe in. Communists stand as a tiny political minority today. And that's the uncomfortable truth, whether they're progressive or conservative communists. Great leaders never tell people what they want to hear. They tell people what they need to hear. Oh, okay. Ah, just so much truth, you know? Most of the undocumented migrants in the U.S. either came legally on a visa or just overstayed, or they crossed the U.S.-Canada border, which no one cares about since it's because those migrants are usually white. Yeah, no, yeah, they fly in, they overstay their visas. Like that's where the majority of them are. But the border provides like a more tangible point of entry, and like they're so concerned about the drugs. The drugs are being brought in through ports of entry on the west and east coast, and they're brought in by the fucking cops. The people who cross the border can't get a visa to overstay. They're poorer and browner. Yeah. Also, yeah, they're there to claim asylum, which is legally like within their rights. Claim asylum from the violence that their countries are experiencing, like in Honduras, because of the fucking United States. DOJ and DHS love the cartel. Yeah, I'm sure. Shit. I've been trying to research the Sino-Soviet split. That's what my main theory has been lately. They make them rich. Yeah, probably. Let's see. What else we got? Immigration. Speaking of immigration, good segue. Immigration isn't making Canada poor, the capitalists are. Are high levels of immigration making Canada poorer? As recent reports, economists at National Bank raised the idea that Canada is caught in a population trap. A population trap, as described by the report, is a situation where no increase in living standards is possible, because the population is growing so fast that all available savings are needed to maintain the existing capital-labor ratio. In other words, Canada's population is growing faster than the economy and the housing market in particular that can sustain, leading to a deterioration of living standards over time, or so the authors maintain. In recent years, immigration has made up almost the entirety of the increase in Canada's population as birth rates decline. The conclusion: the more immigrants we let in, the poorer we all become. In recent months, talk of Canada's population trap has intensified. In a recent article for the Globe and Mail, I almost said communist, columnist Konrad Yakubowski writes that Ottawa's population trap is making us poor. His solution: cutting immigration is no longer an option that immigration minister can just consider. It must be his top priority. For his part, Minister Mark Miller has described his own government's immigration policy as a system that has gotten out of control. On Monday, he announced the first measure in response, a 2-year cap on permits for international students. The proposal to reduce immigration in response to Canada's population trap has suddenly become fashionable even among Canada's most enlightened business and political elite, a suggestion that these same individuals would have been branded Trumpian not too long ago. But why are such proposals being raised now? And more importantly, is immigration actually to blame for Canada's economic woes? Canada has indeed witnessed a surge in immigration in recent years. In 2023, Canada's population increased by a record 1.2 million people, out of which was made up of immigration. In the third quarter of 2023 alone, the population grew by 430,000 people, the largest such increase since 1957. Of these, 313,000 were non-permanent residents. It should be noted that these numbers, while a substantial increase by modern standards, are still not the highest immigration rates in Canada's history. Canada experienced still greater immigration growth at the start of the 20th century and again in the aftermath of the Second World War. Total population numbers only tell part of the story. In 2023, Canada admitted a record 800,000 temporary workers and international students, an increase of 50% from the previous year alone. In recent years, non-permanent residents have eclipsed the number of permanent residents admitted to Canada, which now make up the majority of immigration flows to Canada. Refugees make up only a small portion of non-permanent residents entering the country, despite the hysteria of right-wing pundits. In 2023, it is estimated that there are 2.5 million non-permanent residents living in Canada, and only 289,000 of whom were asylum claimants. The rest, or roughly 2.2 million, were either holders of work or study permits, or both. That immigration levels have shot up in recent years is not in question. However, the question is often ignored by proponents of population trap thinking is, why have immigration levels increased? Okay, so this I actually didn't know. I always thought that immigrants were just an easy target. I didn't actually know that, like, oh, it actually has gone up. I'm like, oh, okay, I suppose it has. Unlike with permanent residents, the admission of temporary workers and international students is not limited by government caps. Instead, their admission is dictated almost entirely by the needs of individual employers and post-secondary institutions. Also, I will say, international students, they pay like way more tuition than national students. And that's why they bring in so much of them. The amount of money is brought in is like insane. Not that it's much better here, but I've dabbed with the idea of seeking asylum in Canada if an anti-LGBTQ plus sentiment gets really bad in the US. Especially for like trans people, you know? Yeah, I am, that is one thing I am genuinely worried about. When it comes to because it's not just Trump, because Trump's a moron. He doesn't understand. I'm convinced Trump didn't actually know what a trans person was until like not too long ago. his focus was always on like economic issues, and I don't think he really understands why his base just foams at the mouth over like trans issues. I don't know. I just never heard of it. I didn't even know that nobody really knew what a trans person was. This is the first time anyone's ever heard of one. Ohio GOP had a conversation leaked where leadership basically admitted a total ban on trans health care is their ultimate goal. Fucking Christ. So that's the biggest danger of Trump getting reelected, is like not just him, but the fucking people that he like appoints. These monsters just waiting to do something like this. And just the way I keep describing it is like these Nazis are going to come out, and the Democrats are just going to be these useless nerds slapping the rule book over and over again, saying like that's not allowed and doing nothing about it. Trudeau tweeted something about Holocaust Remembrance Day, and the replies are, yeah, fuck, man. That's why I posted in the Discord. Take a minute to not only remember the Holocaust, but remember who ended it. Democrats are going to sit with their thumbs with their asses, so they can use it for campaign. Yeah, exactly. I know. And I think the point that a lot of the articles and the focus that I've been reading tonight is like a lot of people aren't falling for that anymore. I'm old enough to remember the 2000 election being told on late night television that it's the most important election of our lifetimes. You know, I'm old enough to remember Bush is a fascist memes, you know, even back then. And then it didn't matter because the Supreme Court fucking decided the election anyway. Like, that was a rigged election. That was a stolen election for sure. Democrats were like, oh, well, rules are rules. What are you going to do? Let's go back to fundraising. Anyway, remember who ended the Holocaust. This badass with the PPSH. So why are immigration levels up? Unlike with permanent residents, the admission of temporary workers and students is not limited by government caps. Their admission is dictated almost entirely by the needs of individual employers and post-secondary institutions. So a lot of it is individual employers. So they just need cheap labor, I think it seems to be what it is. The great resignation of workers that accompanied the COVID-19 pandemic placed those who remained on the job in a more favorable bargaining position against their employers. Rather than give in to worker demands of increased wages and benefits, many businesses opted to tap into Canada's temporary foreign worker program as a solution. The combination of lower wages in these workers' home countries plus their less than secure status in Canada made them an ideal pool of cheap labor for businesses looking to slash costs. For the same reason, employers also tapped into Canada's international student population in search of low-cost labor made possible after restrictions on their ability to work were recently lifted. In post-secondary institutions, international students have become a critical source of funding, without which universities and colleges would be hard-pressed to fund their operations. In Ontario, post-secondary institutions now earn more revenue from international students from India than they do from the provincial government. This is the result of decades of underfunding by various levels of government for higher education, as well as these institutions' ability to charge international students multiple times what citizens pay in tuition. Moreover, a whole industry of diploma mills have cropped up in recent years, post-secondary institutions which offer a dubious education but provide a possible pathway to citizenship. Increased levels of immigration thus have little to do with liberal ideology that embraces immigration for moral reasons, as right-wing pundits are wont to argue. Those who remain doubtful need only to consider the Trudeau government's miserly attitude towards admitting Palestinian refugees to Canada. In truth, Canada's high levels of immigration are driven almost wholly by the economic demands of business and post-secondary institutions, the latter of which only exist due to government neglect of higher education. The advocates of population trap thinking in business and politics are bemoaning a situation which they themselves engineered. This brings us to the main question. However you explain the reason for the explosion in immigration levels, is it to blame for declining living standards? Actually, I really like this framing, the Malthusian idea. You know, Malthus, this is an outdated, it's an outdated theory that Darwin took and turned on its head. So even outdated theories are important to understand and recognize when people recycle them for like modern problems, you know? The population trap theory doesn't lay its blame on population growth as such, but population growth that exceeds the existing capital labor ratio. In plain English, this means a situation where the population grows faster than the plants, the machinery, and technology that sustain that population. In other words, the problem is not the rapid growth of population, but the underlying means of production don't grow as rapidly. The problem identified by proponents of this theory is that too many forks are eating from the same pie. However, what they fail to consider is the size of the pie itself. In the wake of the Second World War, Canada actually experienced higher rates of immigration as a percentage of the population than today. However, no one then seriously spoke of a population trap that would result in lower living standards. On the contrary, most Canadians experienced possibly the highest boosts to living standards in the country's history. So how did this happen? Because although Canada's population grew, the rate of economic growth grew as fast or faster. To this should also be added the massive expansion in housing during this period, in which the state played no small role in building units to make up for private developers, a role most levels of governments have ceased to play in recent decades. Good point about the size of the pie. Yeah, no, this article is really good. It's pointing the finger at the wrong people, right? They want to blame immigrants, but like there are periods in Canadian history where we've had larger increases of immigrants, but because the economy was also growing just as fast, it was not a problem. And so people want to blame these racist, like we get the same chuds here in Canada that want to close the border like they want to do in the southern, in Texas, right? They want to close the border, don't want any more immigrants and students in because that's what's causing that housing shortage. But it's the capitalists that fucking engineered this in the first place, because the Great Resignation over COVID meant that businesses just started importing cheap labor from somewhere else because they don't want to pay the wages. The central mistake of population trap theory is that it considers the underlying wealth of society to be more or less fixed, and it is not. The underlying wealth of society is not fixed. To be fair, I wouldn't blame Canada if they shut their southern border. Well, I'd make an exception for Radicalize Me and Chris McItaly. You guys are more than welcome to come couch surf if things get too hot. I will find you a place. Cupcake is banned from Canada. There's a long history of reactionaries and bourgeois economists trying to blame the population trap for poverty, unemployment, crime, and all manner of social ills. Oh, speaking of poverty, unemployment, and crime, congratulations to my hometown. We just gave, yeah, this is it here. Just gave birth to our very first baby born in the homeless encampments. So yeah, there's literally children being born on the streets. You mentioned hometown is something cringe, something completely fucking insane. Yeah, congratulations to the happy couple. I hope I would have liked the anti-abortion protesters that I drove past today. I would have loved for them to have been there and like throw confetti in the air for the happy couple. It's the first Sanctuary District, baby. Yeah, exactly. Sanctuary Districts out of Deep Space Nine.
Can't buy is your mama. But one thing money can't buy is your mama. She's for free and everybody knows it.
In the 18th century, economist Thomas Malthus argued the Earth's resources could only sustain a fixed number of people. From there, Malthus claimed that unemployment and poverty were the inevitable result of workers reproducing in excess of the demand for labor and the wealth available to feed, house, and otherwise sustain them. Marx and Engels provided a masterful takedown of Malthus's theories. First, they explained how, by constantly applying new methods of production and technique, the planet could not only sustain a far greater population, but massively improve the overall standard of living. Second, Marx noted with curiosity that the same right-wingers who claim that there are too many people to employ during slumps somehow find that there are labor shortages during recoveries. Oh yeah, nobody wants to work anymore. Oh, hi. Frenchie's poking my feet. He's a very needy boy sometimes. Marx noted with curiosity that the same right-wingers who claim that there are too many people to employ during slumps somehow find there are labor shortages during recoveries. That was the recovery we experienced after COVID. COVID's still around, but you know, the burger flipper joints just could not find people to fill these ranks because nobody wants to flip burgers for $7 an hour anymore. And they're like, well, I guess everyone's lazy. No one wants to work anymore, right? The whole of history since that period provides an overwhelming confirmation of Marx's case. Today's proponents of population trap thinking are merely repackaging Malthus's discredited ideas in order to obscure the real problem: the slowing growth of production. There is more than enough wealth available to feed, house, and clothe everyone, and there is plenty of work that needs doing. The problem has nothing to do with population figures. The problem is the capitalist system is incapable of utilizing this wealth to meet the needs of ordinary people. The problem is not the growth of immigration, but the slowing of investment into production. The culprits are therefore not immigrants, but the source of those investments, the capitalists. From 2011 to 2015, Canada's level of investment into fixed capital formations ranked 37th out of 47 mainly advanced countries, according to the OECD. From 2015 to 2023, its position declined to 44th, ahead of only South Africa, Mexico, and Japan. Until the 2010s, investment per worker in Canada rose relative to the US and other advanced countries. By the early 2010s, Canadian business was investing 75 cents per worker for every dollar invested in the US. In 2023, the figure collapsed to 57 cents. In manufacturing, the situation is even worse. In 2022, US capitalists invested more than 3 times per worker than their Canadian counterparts. In turn, since the beginning of the 90s, productivity growth has consistently fallen across the Canadian economy. Can you post a link to this article? I sure can. These figures reveal that investment by Canadian business in real production was low long before the recent uptick in immigration, which only gathered steam after the pandemic. The same can be said of housing. One only needs to ask anyone living in Toronto or Vancouver how affordable their home was prior to 2020. However, cause becomes effect. Canadian industry soon becomes unable to compete with its competitors due to its neglect of investment in production and declining productivity. In recent years, Canada has actually registered negative productivity growth, meaning its economy is producing less with each additional worker. This fuels a drive for ever cheaper pools of labor to help offset the decline in profits. This easier access to cheap labor in turn further disincentivizes investment in real production, creating a vicious cycle. However, the ultimate cause remains the same, the puniness and parasitism of Canadian capitalists as compared to their peers. The blame for Canada's falling living standards stands squarely on the shoulders of Canadian capital, not immigrants. However, in the face of rising public anger, the capitalists and their mouthpieces have attempted to scapegoat immigrants for their own failings. The theory of a population trap or any of its iterations is merely the academic justification for this cynical blame game. Marx once described Malthus and those like him as vulgar economists. This was because they sought not to understand the workings of the economy, but to provide a vulgar defense of capitalist misery. Today's theorists reprise Malthus's reactionary role, albeit with less ability and more cynicism. Communists reject the idea of immigration controls and defend the free movement of labor. A worker is a worker whether they were born in Toronto or Timbuktu. The way to defend high wages and a decent standard of living is not to keep foreign workers out, but to insist that their wages and living conditions can be raised to the level of Canadian citizens. Furthermore, temporary foreign workers should be admitted into the ranks of Canada's trade unions to help solidify the labor movement and prevent their use as strikebreakers. True. Very good point. The idea of an injury to one is an injury to all doesn't stop at holding a passport or permanent resident card. Communists also reject the false idea that immigrants are to blame for Canada's economic woes. We accuse capitalism. The largest enterprises should be taken into public ownership and their resources deployed for productive use under a central economic plan. This plan would be guided by the needs of the many, not the powerful few. The private market has failed to solve the housing crisis. The shortage of quality homes should be addressed by an unprecedented program to build high-quality public housing. Idle or underutilized land should be immediately confiscated from large investors in the interest of building homes at the lowest possible cost to the public. All this should be done under democratic workers' control. My three favorite words. These measures would help pave the way for a massive increase in the standard of living for all people living in Canada. The capitalists and their hangers-on, no doubt, offer up a stiff resistance to these changes. This can only be overcome by a revolutionary struggle of class against class that ends with the workers taking state power. No longer hampered by capital's laws and bureaucracy, the workers' state can then rapidly get to work on carrying out these measures. Communists make no distinction by nationality when it comes to fighting for civil rights and a decent quality for life. We recognize only one race, the human race, and it is only under socialism that humanity can leave poverty behind and achieve its full potential. Yeah, great article. Very good. Marco has always been a damn good writer. Okay, do you guys want to... okay, I got one more article here, I guess. Capitalist disagreement over immigration erupt in Eagle Pass, Texas. I want to know what the Marxist analysis of this fucking... whatever this weird-ass situation is. I'll get to this, and then either we could do some gaming, or we could watch a documentary. We can watch an archaeology documentary. What do you guys want? What do you guys want to see? I want to hear from this. I want to hear from subscribers in the chat. Where do we go from here after this article? The documentary is about a Huron village of the 16th century near Toronto. I would enjoy being True Marxist analysis in the shitlib channel. Man, there's some good stuff in there, eh? I would enjoy being bad at War Thunder with you. Alright, you'll have to hop on voice channel. Okay, civil war has been trending on Twitter. While the term is hyperbolic, it comes from a very real crisis of legitimacy for the federal government. Is Frenchie being all a little growing? No, he's just hungry. He has a routine where he goes and eats. He goes and eats some hay, takes a giant shit, and then he goes onto the couch behind me here to dig at the couch for a while until he gets tired. Then he has to go lie on the hardwood to cool down, and then he goes right back into his box. So he has a route around the room. Man, I gotta update these logos. Texas far-right Governor Greg Abbott has openly declared he will defy a ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court, and 25 other governors have declared their support for Abbott. This is an escalation in an ongoing dispute between the federal government and Texas over razor wire that the Texas National Guard constructed in Eagle Pass along the U.S.-Mexico border as part of Abbott's anti-migrant Operation Lone Star. For weeks, Texas National Guard soldiers have been blocking federal agents from accessing Eagle Pass to take down the wire. On Monday, January 22nd, the Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional for Texas to block the federal government from taking it down. The following day, Abbott announced that despite this ruling, the Texas National Guard would continue to hold the line. Every Republican governor but one has signed a letter in support of Abbott, and other prominent Republicans from Trump to Speaker of the House Mike Johnson have also voiced their support for Abbott in his ongoing standoff. This is the latest sign of an escalating crisis of legitimacy for the Biden regime. Hugely unpopular, even more so than Trump was as president. His approval ratings are below Trump's, if you can believe that. Biden is struggling to maintain U.S. stability, and the standoff at the border is a right-wing expression of Biden's failure to keep the state from imploding. That so many elected officials are standing with Abbott as he defies an order from the Supreme Court illustrates how deep the crisis within the government goes, and how the loss of legitimacy of key institutions of the U.S. regime has both left and right-wing expressions. I'm sure Biden will be firm and not cave to Abbott. Yet. Biden is commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He could stop the Texas National Guard. Yeah, and then they'd be in subordination, but Biden. What the fuck is happening? What the fuck? What the fuck, Twitter? What is happening today? I'm not doing anything. Anyway, Biden's gonna show up to the border and say
beer
this.
Brewed here, it is used to make the brew beer in this refinery. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. The beer brewed here.
Anyway, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, it's probably on my end. Because, like, I was not seeing this until I started streaming. What the fuck did he say? He said, and it's transcribed here, in beer brew here, ish used to make the brew beer here is we're finding, oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes.
The beer brewed here, it is used to make the brew beer in this refinery. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. The beer brewed here.
Anyway. So yeah, I'm glad that's gonna be the guy that's gonna resolve this. That's the leader of the free world. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on with my discoloration. This is really weird. Also, I saw this picture on Twitter. I thought it was a picture of Argentina. It was like a drone shot of the cityscape. But then it turns out, like, oh, why is there a toilet there? And it took me way too long to realize this is a weird ass fucking motherboard that got turned into a bathroom. There's been an ongoing campaign by far-right politicians throughout the country to weaponize the migrant crisis against the Biden administration. Their tactics have included busing migrants to Democrat-run cities to stoke chaos and deploying state forces to the border to aid Operation Lone Star in defiance of federal policy. This latest move by Abbott marks a qualitative leap in just how much the far right is willing to challenge the entire legitimacy of the federal government's immigration policies. The fact that the U.S. capitalists and their various representatives in government cannot agree on what to do about the increasing number of migrants coming to the United States. However, the dispute between the state governments behind Operation Lone Star and the federal government is not about whether to let migrants in, but rather how to most effectively keep migrants out and maintain domestic stability. While Republicans accuse Biden of being weak on immigration, his administration has effectively continued Trump's draconian policies. But both Biden's left and right flanks in the Democratic Party have sought to refine those policies. The Democrats agree with keeping the repressive immigration system in place, but some push for the government to increase the amount of migration to the United States, while others want even more restrictions. Biden has been unable to unite these different wings and certainly not been able to negotiate a deal with Republicans. The inability of the various factions in government to reach a consensus on immigration is becoming explosive, as we are now seeing. It's undeniable the far right poses a threat, not just as militias, but as a force represented within the U.S. government, able to use the mechanisms of the state to fight for a reactionary agenda. The crisis developing around the border will not be the last display of the far right's institutional power. Many are calling on Biden to deploy the U.S. military and take control of the Texas National Guard as a way to rein Abbott in. No socialists should join these calls. We're watching Yankee Tanky talking about, like, we have to go down to the border, right? As noted above, Biden himself is carrying out the war on migrants. Any strengthening of the federal government in response to Abbott will be used to continue the war on migrants in the long run. Has Biden? I think Biden has outpaced number of immigrants deported. He's deported more folks than Trump has, hasn't he? Like, I can't think of a single thing that Biden has done that is not a continuation of a Trump policy. What was Title 42 again? What do you mean? He started a proxy war with Ukraine? Yeah. The COVID measure to deport all migrants at the border. Okay. Okay, so it's all good then. Vote Biden. The crisis does, however, show the left, the workers, and all those who support migrants need to organize our own fight against the far right, as I argued in November 2022. Vote hard, guys. You think we're not mad? We're ready to vote right fucking now, if we could. The war on migrants weakens the power of the working class within the United States and internationally, along with dividing our collective power across borders to resist attacks by the capitalists. The war on migrants is part of the far-right strategy to strengthen the authoritarian power of the state against working class and oppressed communities within the United States. The working class has a vested interest in resisting the far right and its war on migrants, and we must use our own power, not rely on the Democrats or the state to fight for us. Workers across the country, but especially in states with governors supporting Operation Lone Star, can fight back with methods like strikes, walkouts, and pickets, demanding an end to the war on migrants. Along with this, workers should resist any strengthening of the state's repressive forces, from the National Guard to the federal border enforcement agencies, all of which are institutions that exist to attack our class. We must begin organizing this fight immediately, as we are seeing just how organized our enemies are. All right, I got 2 hours left of this copyright-free synth wave. Thanks for hanging with me, guys. It's 33 minutes. I love this. The far left are the problem, not the so-called far right. Your woke degenerate ideology has destroyed the West. Okay. He pinned this comment. Classic zero brain. Oh, a real life chud. Oh no, the West has fallen. Anyway. Is this going to be weird? Why is this being weird? Why is everything got to be fucking stupid right now? What happens if I load up War Thunder? Maybe some new filter. Oh god, maybe you're right. Oh, that'd be so fucking annoying. No, I wanted to watch this guy. I actually worked with this guy. He's an asshole. It was on Twitter and YouTube. Yeah. I don't know. Chris Lemon. Remember him? He was not very nice to me. In fact, he wasn't nice to anybody. Very grouchy. He then dated someone on site and then got dumped and then took it out on everyone else. Oh!
So now that we've excavated this and
anyway, this was a super cool documentary. I just don't know why it's so fucking saturated like this. Oh, I thought that was a bit redeem. I was like 5,000 bits. No, 5,000 channel points. It's what you get. It's what you get for free. So there's some sound effects for free here. This is one of my favorite ones.
Because I'm a perfect physical specimen and I'm extremely young.
That's a classic one. And people were abusing the mummy scream. Beta! So yeah, that one. So I had to increase the amount of channel points for people to use that. Yes, thank you. And it comes from is it this one?
Scientists
I have 44,000 channel points. All right, so you got like I don't know how many fucking 44,000 divided by 5,000. So you get eight mummy screams. God damn it, where is it? Here it is. This is where it comes from originally.
Scientists were able to mimic Nessie Amun's voice by recreating his mouth and vocal cords with a 3D printer. It allowed them to produce a single sound.
They'll never not get old. Hey, how's that look? Nope, still looks stupid. Still looks like old Ron Williamson here got a fucking tan. Alright, well, that's gonna have to be... I'm gonna have to figure this out another day. We're not gonna watch this documentary until I get this color sorted out, because it's appearing in YouTube as well. Like, it's showing in YouTube. Alright, I guess we'll do some gaming. Call sign Kingfisher, you're up. Anyone else who wants to join in on War Thunder, please feel free.
You're the most amazing guy.
That's my desktop.
You're brilliant. You're handsome. You're rich.
All right, how's everyone doing? How's your week been? Mine was pretty slow. I'm literally just doing file purges on the archives in the in our server. So I can't delete anything yet. So all I got to do is move files that I think are not important, and I move them to a to be deleted folder, and that's my job. Also, I'm preparing a presentation. You guys are gonna like this, and I'm gonna definitely do a long version of it on stream, and I'll definitely post that to YouTube. I got approval to do we're doing like a symposium, so every field director like me has to pick a topic, and then we present it. We have 10 to 20 minutes to talk about like whatever we want in archaeology. And so obviously my topic's gonna be Marxist archaeology, and I'm going through this book and highlighting really interesting passages and stuff. It's way more work than I thought it was going to be, but it's also insanely interesting, and I think you guys are going to really like it. It's there's a lot of like dialectics that are applied, and lots of ways of thinking about the material record in terms of class and inequality that a lot of academics tends to not think about. Why isn't War Thunder opening? Would anyone have any idea why War Thunder wouldn't be opening? Application not found. Okay, what the fuck is happening? Fucking Windows. Snail demands a sacrifice, yeah. Ugh. No. I don't need to Bing search motherfucking War Thunder. I need to play the... I played this morning. I wonder if I need to restart my computer because I updated my graphics card. I guess I have to I gotta restart my computer. Man, it's been nothing but technical problems tonight. I should just fucking end the stream. I don't know, what do you guys think? Yeah, I updated the graphics card, but I didn't restart my computer. I just wanted to get back on streaming. I thought everything looked good. Maybe that's what I need to do. I don't know. I got so many viewers now, though. I don't want to fucking lose them all. Okay, you know what? I'll be right back. Let's reconvene in 5 minutes. That's a good plan. Let's do that. You figure out your VR thing. I'm gonna end the stream. We'll be back in 5 minutes, guys. Go take a... I need to stand up and stretch, too, so... And I need to refill my water. Trying to cut back on beer. Normally, I would love to just get shit-faced and play War Thunder with you guys, but not so much anymore. Anyway, I will be right back, and we'll play